The sun had already begun its lazy descent behind the jagged spires of the abandoned colony, painting the sky with streaks of burnt orange and violet. Dust swirled across the cracked metallic streets like lazy spirits, clinging to the surfaces of ruined buildings and the soldiers' boots as he trudged forward, muttering under his breath. "Why did I get stuck on this rock of a planet again?" "Oh right," the captain said, "it's a routine supply mission." "Routine, my foot. There are more broken doors here than in the whole of old Earth." He kicked at a loose panel, sending a cloud of sand and rust into the air, and cursed when it stung his eyes. Adjusting his helmet, he glanced at the scanner dangling from his belt, a flickering device that had once been cutting-edge but now seemed more like a relic. The green light flickered erratically, as if mocking his sorry existence. He wasn't expecting company. Not that he wanted it. He'd been alone long enough to start talking to the empty corridors and the occasional malfunctioning drone that buzzed like a mosquito on steroids. And then he heard it, a soft, deliberate sigh unlike anything mechanical, carrying the faintest hint of amusement. He froze mid-step, squinting into the shadowed alley ahead. Okay, either I'm hallucinating or there's someone or something here. A figure emerged from the shadows. At first glance, she looked human, the height of a well-trained athlete, skin pale but warm-toned, hair the color of midnight cascading over her shoulders in waves that seemed to shimmer with a life of their own. And then he noticed the ears long, tapering elegantly to points, flicking like cat ears at the slightest sound. He blinked. "Well, that's new. Great. Just when I thought this day couldn't get weirder." The woman was sitting on a low wall, one knee drawn up, the other leg dangling. Her posture was relaxed, almost casual, though the flickering light revealed a dark stain spreading across her side. He froze, his previous humor morphing into concern. "Are you okay there?" he asked, approaching cautiously. Her eyes, deep and impossibly bright, met his, and she tilted her head with a grace that suggested both curiosity and amusement. "I've been better," she said softly. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "But you are here now. That changes things." He swallowed. "Right, that's comforting. I mean, I didn't exactly plan on helping anyone today. My calendar said avoid extra trouble." He stepped closer, trying to assess the wound. The stain pulsed faintly with a soft blue glow, making him jerk back. "Whoa, okay, that is not normal." The alien woman. He had to resist the urge to call her a dozen things that sounded like bad sci-fi fanfiction, looked at him with an arched brow and a hint of humor. "Careful, soldier. I'm not just any woman." He coughed, sure. "I mean, yeah, I can see that. You're definitely something. Long ears, glowing wound, mysterious aura, check, check, check. So, do you want help or are you planning to kill me first?" Her lips quirked in a smile that was both sharp and playful. "I appreciate honesty, very refreshing." She shifted slightly, making the glow pulse brighter for an instant. He yelped. "Okay, okay, I get it. Healing or threatening, pick one. Preferably the first one." He knelt down awkwardly, trying to produce some semblance of medical competence from memory. "Right. So bandages, antiseptic, or do we skip straight to quantum regenerative treatment? I happen to carry, well, actually no, I don't. Never mind, just the basics, probably." She laughed, a sound that seemed almost musical against the hollow backdrop of the abandoned colony. "Basics are fine. I trust your improvisation, though I'm curious to see if it works." As he cleaned the wound, he fumbled with the alien's anatomy. "You know, if this were Earth, this would be way easier. But you're weirdly human and not human at the same time. Long ears, funny bone placement. I'm fairly certain I'm not supposed to be touching any of this, but you make it easy." He gave a lopsided grin. "And I say that with professional caution." She twitched an ear, clearly amused. "Easy. I'll remember that when you accidentally destroy part of me with your professional caution." He winced. "Good to know. I'll try to keep the catastrophic mishaps under control, but no promises." The two of them worked in a rhythm that was at once chaotic and oddly synchronized. He muttered jokes at every awkward touch. She responded with teasing quips and subtle demonstrations of her capability. At one point, when he tried to adjust a bandage too tightly, she flexed her arm, and the wound began to knit itself slightly faster, glowing briefly in a soft cerulean hue. He yelped, jerking his hands back. "Okay, that's not in the manual. Did you just heal yourself a bit? That is cheating." She grinned, ear flicking. "A little help, don't be dramatic, you're doing fine." He blinked at her, half in awe, half in disbelief. "Fine. I feel like a trainee medic trying to patch up an interstellar superhero here, and you're smiling while I almost botched the job. Not fair. You'll survive, probably. If not, it'll make an interesting story." He snorted. "Yeah, sure. Human soldier meets mysterious long-eared alien woman and accidentally kills her with overzealous first aid. Bestseller material, I tell you." Minutes passed, and they fell into a strange rhythm of banter and careful work, the tension of unknown danger tempered by their growing camaraderie. He noticed subtle things about her. How her ears twitched with emotion, how she adjusted her posture like a cat deciding whether to pounce or nap, how the light seemed to bend around her slightly, like she wasn't entirely bound by the laws of physics. He kept trying to poke fun at it. "Seriously, is that a trick of the light, or are you secretly a walking hologram?" She laughed again, the sound rich and teasing. "I assure you I'm as real as you are, though perhaps a bit more flexible." He raised an eyebrow. "Flexible, right, good to know. So what do I call you? Long ears, mistress of glow, quantum wonder." She tilted her head, considering him with a sly smile. "You'll do, for now." By the time the sun had fully dipped behind the horizon, leaving the colony in a deep violet gloom, the soldier had managed to stabilize her wound, at least enough for short-term survival. And though neither of them said it aloud, a fragile thread of trust had begun to form, a trust laced with humor, cautious curiosity, and an unspoken acknowledgement that their meeting was anything but ordinary. The alien woman's eyes lingered on him a moment longer, her gaze sharp yet playful. "Remember what I said, soldier. I'm not just any woman." He swallowed and offered a crooked smile, trying to mask his awe. "Message received. Loud and clear, but you know I've dealt with worse, mostly, probably." She chuckled softly, the glow of her wound pulsing gently in the darkness, as if echoing her amusement, her presence a constant reminder that the galaxy had just gotten a lot more interesting and a lot more dangerous. And somewhere beneath the ruins, shadows shifted, as if they, too, were watching, waiting, and curious about what would happen next. The colony was quieter than it had any right to be, the silence broken only by the occasional groan of shifting metal and the soldiers' own muttered complaints. "I swear this place has more dead echoes than a haunted space station, and I hate ghosts, especially creepy, glowing ones." He adjusted the strap of his utility pack, which contained a mix of supplies that seemed increasingly inadequate against the unknowns of this world. Behind him, the alien woman followed with feline grace, her long ears twitching as she scanned every shadow, every crevice. Her stride was smooth, almost effortless, and despite the wound he had just tended, she seemed more agile than a trained acrobat, though the glowing mark along her side pulsed faintly, a reminder that her injuries were more complicated than they seemed. "You know, for someone with a faintly threatening glow on their side, you move a lot like a cat on a caffeine binge," he said, wincing as he stepped over a broken support beam. "Honestly, I'm worried you'll trip and, well, probably survive, but the optics are bad." She flicked her ear and shot him a look over her shoulder, one eyebrow raised. "You really do talk too much." "And you're really bad at subtlety," he countered, managing a crooked grin. "We're perfectly matched." She allowed a faint chuckle, the sound like a ripple across a calm pool. "I suppose so, but your commentary is endearing in its incompetence." He shrugged, shifting his pack nervously. "Endearing? I was going for heroic, but sure, endearing works too." They rounded a corner into a wider plaza, where the remnants of automated market stalls jutted from the cracked floor like broken teeth. The dim glow of distant energy pylons painted fractured shadows across the ruins, shadows that seemed to flicker just slightly out of sync with reality. The soldier paused. Okay, either my brain is short-circuiting or this place is full of badly calibrated holograms. Either way, I hate it. She crouched behind one of the crumbling stalls, with an ease that made him feel like a clumsy giraffe on roller skates. Both in a sense. There are sensors, yes, but some of the effects you notice are natural. Gravity in flux, electromagnetic pulses, and some of it is me. He blinked. Oh, fantastic. So on top of being a long-eared, glow-wounded, mysterious alien woman, you also mess with reality a little. No big deal, right? She smirked, ears twitching. I said some, not all. He groaned. Good to know, I feel safer already. He crouched beside her, trying to mimic her poised stance. So, what's the plan, oh reality-bending one? We sneak past ghosts, ghosts with laser eyes or ghosts that just stare creepily and judge. She turned her head, eyes glinting faintly. Judging is dangerous, especially to the uninitiated. He exhaled loudly. Noted. No judging humans, got it. I'll keep my mediocre heroics and sarcastic commentary to myself. Probably. As they moved, the soldier noticed that her presence seemed to affect the environment in subtle ways. Lights shifted slightly toward her, faint hums resonated from the metallic floor, and plants that had survived the colony's decay leaned in her direction, as if seeking guidance. He squinted. Seriously, do you do that intentionally, or is this some side effect of being awesome? I neither confirm nor deny, she said lightly, giving him a pointed look. It's situational. He grinned. Situational, I love that. It's perfect. Gives me hope that when I inevitably screw something up, you won't just, vaporize me. Not yet, she said, and there was humor in her tone, though her gaze remained sharp. They reached the remains of what had once been a bustling transport hub. Cracked docking bays loomed above them, skeletal frames of ships half buried in rubble. The soldier paused, scanning the area, and muttered, I don't like this. Too open. Feels like walking into the belly of a mechanical whale. You mean the scanning drones, she said. They are not friendly, they will find us. He groaned. Fantastic. I was just getting used to the idea of simple survival, and now we're playing hide-and-seek with floating murder machines. This is going to end well. She crouched slightly, touching the ground with a single fingertip. Follow my lead, try not to trip. That will make it more entertaining than necessary. He raised his hands in mock surrender. I'm a model student. Watch me not trip. Within seconds, he caught his foot on a protruding cable and almost face-planted. She's a blur of movement, grabbing his arm and dragging him into cover, her long ears brushing the debris above. He ended up sprawled behind a half-collapsed wall, cursing softly, and she glanced at him with amusement barely restrained. You have remarkable instincts for disaster, she said lightly, her voice teasing. I'm practicing, he panted. One day, I'll be a disaster ninja instead of a disaster mortal. Her smirk widened. Perhaps, though I doubt it will be without incident. They stayed crouched, watching as a patrol drone hovered into the open space ahead. The drone's sensors swept the plaza with a faint blue glow, scanning for movement. The soldier whispered, So step 1, don't die, got it. Step 2, don't irritate it. Step 3, no idea, but maybe just keep not dying. She touched the drone lightly with her hand, and the machine shuddered before tilting slightly, almost as if confused. Step 3, let me do some work. The drone's sensors blinked and shifted erratically, failing to locate them. The soldier's jaw dropped. Okay, that was amazing, did you just mess with it? Call it persuasion, she said, ears flicking. A minor inconvenience for it, a major thrill for you. He staggered to his feet, brushing dust from his uniform. Thrill? I nearly died from excitement. You survived, she said simply, eyes bright. That's the important part. They moved on, weaving through the wreckage with a combination of her effortless grace and his clumsy determination. He kept cracking jokes, trying to ease his own nerves. If anyone asks, I was totally heroic back there. I didn't trip once. Well, maybe twice, but the second time was tactical. She shook her head, hiding a smile. You are a strange species, soldier. Clumsy, talkative, and persistent, but amusing and useful. He grinned. Amusing is my middle name. Well, not really, but if it were, I'd charge for appearances. As night fell fully, the ruined colony became a labyrinth of shadows, half-buried technology and flickering lights. Yet in her presence, he felt a cautious hope, a strange reassurance that even here, in the middle of broken metal and rogue gravity fields, he might just survive. And though she did not elaborate on her cryptic warning, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything about her, the long ears, the faint glow of her wound, the way she seemed to bend reality just slightly, was a promise that the universe had more in store for him than he could ever have anticipated. And somewhere deep in the ruins, sensors hummed, whispers of unseen observers acknowledging the strange pair, curious about the human soldier and the alien woman with her mischievous smile and dangerous grace, unaware that the adventure had only begun. The ruins of the colony stretched endlessly under the violet-black sky, jagged silhouettes of collapsed structures casting angular shadows that seemed to shift in ways that no natural light should allow. The soldier trudged beside the alien woman, each step careful, measured, though his movements still betrayed the occasional clumsy stumble. I feel like we've walked through every possible disaster this side of the galaxy, he muttered, brushing dust from his shoulder. And I think I deserve a medal for not falling into a gravity pit or being vaporized by a rogue drone. At least not yet. She glanced at him, one of her long ears twitching in amusement. You exaggerate. Some of it is intentional, she said lightly, her eyes sparkling with mirth. The rest is survival, and you've survived more than you give yourself credit for. He snorted, survived sure. I look like a mess, feel like a mess, and probably smell like a mix of burnt circuits and desperation, but hey, points for morale. He gave a weak thumbs up. She shook her head, smiling faintly. Morale is important, but so is focus and caution, which brings us here. She gestured toward a massive, half-buried dome in the center of the plaza, glowing faintly with an eerie bioluminescence that matched the light of her wound. This is the core of the colony's energy field. It's destabilizing, and if we don't act, well, everything goes boom, dramatically. He swallowed. Go on, sure, that's comforting. I was getting worried when things were only moderately life-threatening. Moderately life-threatening is relative, she said with a twitch of her ear. You'll see soon enough. They approached the dome, the floor beneath them humming faintly, with a resonance that vibrated through the soles of his boots. He tripped once, barely catching himself on a protruding pipe. Okay, note to self, floors that hum, dangerous, definitely dangerous. She reached out and touched the dome's surface, and the hum shifted slightly, as if acknowledging her presence. I can stabilize it temporarily, she said, but it requires focus and cooperation. You will need to follow instructions precisely, and no panicking. He raised his hands in mock surrender. Panicking is my default setting. I'll try not to upgrade to full panic mode. Good enough, she said, eyes narrowing in concentration. A soft blue glow emanated from her wound, expanding slightly to envelop her hands as she pressed them against the dome. The air shimmered, and the surrounding debris seemed to realign, moving subtly to form a path of stability. Follow my lead, she instructed, her tone both commanding and gentle. He nodded, trying not to hyperventilate as he mimicked her movements. Right. Follow mysterious, glowing, long-eared alien woman. How hard could it be? Famous last words. The dome pulsed again, louder this time, and he felt it resonate through his chest. A wave of energy rippled outward, throwing his balance off. Whoa, okay, that's not subtle, he shouted, clutching the floor. Control your breathing, she said, ear flicking sharply. It's the energy field, it responds to tension. Calm, measured input, you can do this. He gritted his teeth. Measured, I can do measured, maybe, probably, hopefully. Together they pressed against the dome, his hands shaking despite her calm presence. She guided him through a series of precise gestures, some of them unintuitive, twisting and turning with a rhythm that seemed almost like a dance. Slowly the hum diminished, the flickering lights steadied, and the air lost its trembling resonance. The colony's energy field stabilized, glowing steadily, though faint pulses reminded them of the precarious balance they had achieved. He slumped backward, panting. "Okay, that was wow, I did it, did I?" "You did," she said, a small smile tugging at her lips. "Better than you give yourself credit for. Your adaptability is impressive, for a human." He grinned, still catching his breath. "Impressive is my middle name. Well, no, that's not true, but it should be. Let's make it true retroactively." She laughed, a musical sound that made the tension dissolve further. "You are resilient and surprisingly humorous, even in the most absurd circumstances." He shook his head. "Surprisingly humorous is my survival strategy. And yes, I know I probably should have picked a more traditional method, but hey, here we are, alive. Mostly sane, mostly." The alien woman's gaze softened. "You've changed, human. From a soldier wandering aimlessly, uncertain of your place, to someone who can adapt, improvise, and face extraordinary challenges with something like courage. And humor, both are important." He blinked, momentarily caught off guard by the sincerity. "Courage, huh? I think I mostly just didn't want to get eaten or vaporized." She smirked, ear twitching. "That's courage in its purest human form. Fear is acknowledged, but you act anyway. That is bravery." They walked slowly back toward the outer edge of the colony, where the first weak light of dawn began to glimmer over the horizon. The soldier looked around, noticing the ruins with a new perspective. The broken machinery, the twisted metal, even the alien flora leaning toward the stabilizing dome, they all seemed less threatening now. He could see beauty in the decay and a strange hope in the persistence of life, both human and alien. "So, what now?" he asked, glancing at her. "Do we call in reinforcements, report to command? Or do we just walk into the sunrise like dramatic space heroes?" She laughed softly. "Reinforcements are tricky, but walking into the sunrise, that I can manage." She extended her hand and he took it, feeling the warmth and subtle energy that seemed to pulse beneath her skin. He grinned. "Well then, dramatic space hero it is. Though I warn you, I'm more of a sarcastic sidekick than a leading man." "You'll do," she said, tugging him gently along. "The galaxy does not need another leading man. It needs humans who can survive chaos and humans who can laugh through it." As they emerged from the ruins, the soldier glanced back one last time at the colony, now stabilized, quiet except for the faint hum of life resuming. He felt a weight lift from his shoulders, not just the fear, but the uncertainty that had followed him for so long. He had faced the extraordinary and survived, not just because of his skill, but because he had learned to trust, to improvise, and to find humor even in moments that threatened to overwhelm him. "I guess this means I'm officially not useless," he said, half to himself, half to her. "You were never useless," she replied softly, her long ears brushing against the breeze. "You just hadn't realized your own strength. Now you have." He laughed, a genuine, unburdened sound. "Strength, huh? I'll take it, but don't expect me to stop tripping over things." She chuckled, letting him take the lead as they walked into the growing light, the horizon stretching endlessly before them, filled with possibilities. "Tripping is human, but you'll manage." "And if I do?" he asked, smirking. "Then we'll adjust," she said, her smile teasing but firm, "together." And so they walked forward, a human soldier and an extraordinary alien woman with long ears, side by side. The galaxy stretched out before them, vast, unpredictable, and full of dangers, but also full of humor, wonder, and a promise that life, even across species and worlds, could be faced with courage, laughter, and companionship. The soldier's heart, once heavy with uncertainty, now carried a new rhythm, a mixture of respect, awe, and the certainty that he was ready for whatever came next. The adventure was not over, but he had changed, grown, and survived, and that alone felt like victory. The stars blinked above them, indifferent, infinite, and yet somehow welcoming, as if the universe itself had nodded approval at the unlikely pair, walking into the dawn together, ready for the stories yet